Okay, so tell me a bit about your background, sort of how the band got together and how and why you formed.
Me and Rob and Whiskers were in other bands. Obviously, Whiskers was in the Flam. We were in the Black Helicopters. We were getting a bit bored with what we were doing, feeling a bit pigeonholed by the bands we were in, and Whiskers really wanted to start something new. So he got obviously him and Katie's brother and sister, and they'd been doing stuff.
Sisters, as I usually say.
Yeah. We say it when you're not looking as well. He asked Rob to be in it, and then realised that actually he couldn't find a singer either, so the easiest thing was to just get me to do it.
I wasn't. Yeah, I was wondering how you'd phrase that, because I was waiting for you to go, and then they realised that I was the best singer around, so they asked me.
That's what you usually say, so I'm not going to fucking say it.
Yeah, no, I just thought I was just waiting for see how you'd phrase it.
I thought I'd give you a rest from telling the story.
No, that's why I didn't answer it. Sorry, no.
So what were your aims when you started then? 'Cause I mean, you didn't really go through the thing of like playing first on the bill at the Vine or whatever for 6 months. You seemed to sort of go in at a certain.
We did our
level
first
straight
share
away.
at the Vine.
Yeah.
We were first on as well, weren't we? Always second.
No, I never went first on the Vine. I never did that.
You did fit on all the gigs.
I knew the guy who ran it. So. I guess the thing is, it's we sort of realised, because we had the experience with other bands, that there are sort of ways you can do things, and there's a lot of gigs that really don't do anything for you. You look at the amount of bands who are good, who just go around playing gigs and never really create any kind of fan base, and it's simply because, I guess, a lot of the time they're not really playing to the right crowds, or they're not playing to people who go and watch gigs. They're playing to other bands' mates, basically.
I think
if you play every week down the Vine or whatever, first on, you're not going to get a consistent number of people coming all the time, and people are just going to go, oh yeah, well they're playing again or whatever.
I think it's important when you're first starting out to like not play too much, but play enough to get good, if that makes sense. Like, play out of town if you can, like to have a gig where it's not going to be people in Leeds, because if people see that you're on all the time, then no one's going to come to any of them. It's sort of catch-22.
Yeah, the other big thing, which I think is really noticeable now, is the fact that you can't build a real fan base from getting loads of your mates to come and see us. And it's quite interesting. You look at bands now like Bazaars and Infrasound, who used to be able to command like massive audiences. Now they sort of really need their mates and a fan base. They haven't really got one, because they were just bringing their, it's like a party every gig, which is cool, and we don't have that very often, which is, we're getting sort of good now, but it's very relevant when we play. When we play in Leeds, everyone expects us to turn up with this massive guest list, and it's usually about, it's like our girlfriend and that's it, because everyone we know who comes to see us is come to see us because they really want to see us, and not because they're our mates or anything like that, which I think is really
Because
good.
our mates never come to see
Our mates
us.
never come to see us. It's sort of something detached from that, because I think with Black Helicopters and the Flam, it was all about that as well.
Yeah.
And that's why it didn't really matter, sort of, for people who came to see us. But again, in the early days, it was very much trying to play to people who would be interested in seeing us again. So sort of very carefully try to play. Obviously, because I was putting on gigs as well, that sort of, we went out to play with stuff like Kilkenada and bands like Youth Movie Soundtrack Strategies. And then, when people thought we were good, we got a chance to play with
first
bands.
or second on at every all-dayer for
Yeah,
a month.
well, that's it. I mean, that was weird. We didn't really go out and do that, but we did seem to play like.
We were
That was like this time last year, wasn't
we
it?
did Nasty Fest, we did Go Johnny Go 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 Go, we did Rocktober, and
that one at Brudenell, can't remember the one.
yeah, Tasty and Rastonbury. But again, that's like on a local set. We say this in the sort of the national press, that it's great that we can play with random bands, but in a local thing, that's ace. That we
And
can
as
do
well,
all
like
them.
those all-dayers, it's just like people who go to gigs do go to them, and it's not like just playing to your mates, because.
And they're all in different scenes as well. It's like the people that go to Rocktober won't necessarily go to Rastonbury. They're like completely like detached from each other, which is wicked.
Yeah, I forgot about the fact that we did all of them.
Yeah.
But then when other people started to realise we got asked to do a lot of gigs, like play with the Rakes and Blood Brothers and then farther afield.
That Rakes gig was actually a gig with the others, though, Whiskers.
Yeah.
Which you failed to mention. The others were headlining.
Yeah, I didn't really want to mention that.
But, I mean, obviously you sort of generated a real sort of buzz around yourselves, sort of in a space of year and a half. whatever. I mean, do you think that's being helped by the fact there seems to be a real buzz around Leeds in general at the moment? Do you think you've been sort of helped by the environment you're in?
I think it maybe has in a way.
A little bit. It's really hard because it's kind of hand in hand because obviously we've put our own records out and there's been quite a bit of focus on that side of things as well.
I would hope that
So I've just realised that we're doing the exact same pose and we've got the exact same shoes on, and it's freaking me out a bit.
I'll bring up the shoes out of this shop. What are they?
They're not sure.
No, it's a shame. That's a climax to the interview.
£10 priceless shoes. Man, I've actually written my name on mine just in case.
I got a bit of sick on mine though.
You got a bit of sick on it.
So now we can tell whose is whose.
My shoe's cheaper than yours. Mine were £2.50.
Bloody fuck.
Anyway, Leeds.
Leeds, has it helped us? Well, of course it kind of helps you, but at the same time it's not. And you can't really say what would happen if there wasn't a big thing, but it's just, the thing about Leeds is it's too all-encompassing, and there's two different relevant scenes. Like if you know, I thought like 2 or 3 years ago that bands like Dugan and Pylon were going to break through, but they didn't want to. And then you look at the Chiefs, and we got interviewed for Calendar, and the whole interview revolved around us being the next Kaiser Chiefs, and they just seem to not be able to comprehend.
Kaiser Chiefs about 5 times in the course of a 2-minute interview.
But they seemed unable to comprehend the fact that, you know, everyone's ambition isn't to be a band like the Kaiser Chiefs, but it definitely is the Kaiser Chiefs' ambition to be a band like the Kaiser Chiefs.
And they were kind of like, we were like, well, we don't really, want to emulate the Kaiser Chiefs, and like, what, you don't want to sell any records? And it's just like, no, we want to sell records. It's just we're clearly not the similar band to the Kaiser Chiefs. They didn't quite get it, but
I mean, how would you sort of sum up your ambitions, where you want to be? What are you aiming for at the moment?
just want to do an album, get it released, and get it to do pretty well. Keep playing.
Yeah.
Go to Europe and America.
Get people that haven't heard us to hear us, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's like we've been to Europe now, and we're hoping to do a bit more over there. But it's just like we play with Architecture in Helsinki, and they're like from Australia and stuff, and they said that they loved us and stuff. So like, and I get like messages of people on MySpace from all over the world, and it'd be like ace to just like go and play to those people that have heard us but can't necessarily come see us in England and stuff.
It's kind of like maximum exposure with a minimum compromise, really. Yeah. And just trying to do that and do it to the best you can. You know, I mean, like there are a lot of huge bands that we sort of admire. You know, you look at like a band like Radiohead and stuff, and Sonic. I mean, Sonic Youth is a band I think purposely because they've gone on for 20 years and they're still making great records. And they've got
so much respect as well.
Exactly, and they influence so many bands, and they can do pretty much whatever they want. You know, they can tour like all over the world, and they can get with play Buddy V Festival. You know, and they can play the curate Altamont parties. You know, so it's things like that. It's being able to do what you want to do. Really, that's sort of the ambition that puts in sort of
do what you want to do for as long as you can.
Have you been surprised by sort of the amount of attention and exposure that you've been getting? Because I mean, what a lot of people I guess would say if they heard your stuff is that it's not commercial music. You know, it's not tailor-made for getting played on, I don't know, Zane Lowe or whatever. You know,
I think it was definitely surprising at the start.
It's sort of carried away with it now in a way, haven't we?
Yeah, and it was like when it first started happening, it was very surprising. But like as it keeps happening, then it becomes less surprising because you sort of get used to it. But it probably isn't a good thing, but.
It is kind of hard to be surprised when Steve Mack plays a record when he does come to every single London show that he's playing.
Yeah.
You know, it's things like that. Of course, it's ace, but sometimes I do look back at it and think, cripes, I used to sit in my bedroom and tape his shows. And
now you go play a gig and he's like, "Hi, Steve," and you give him a hug, and you know, and it's just really strange.
But that means again, it is kind of hard to sort of be surprised about stuff that happens to you now, with the way things have been picked up. I find it weird the sort of the definition with which it happened, like the fact that we seem in the mainstream press, like the enemy seems like really behind us, but we seem to have not had much impact on the others.
Like
but I guess,
or anything like that.
Yeah, but I guess that's the enemy's habit to sort of overreact to things.
But
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Build you up and knock you down.
But there's a period in summer where it's like there was kind of like a big shock because we'd like buy the enemy like every week. There'd be something, it might even just be like a name mention, but it's just like to be in it for like a couple of months just about every week, it was just like shock.
That was like exciting in a way, you know, that was kind of like bloody hell, I didn't think it'd get like this.
Why do you think it is? Why do you think you have sort of caught on with so many people?
Because Tom's so photogenic.
So someone says to,
Sounds
someone
like
said
rock,
to me, it's like bollocks to the rest of your song, but they've got big hooks, and they're like really like that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not wanting to play down the rest of the song. That's what someone said to me. I can't remember who it was actually. But and I think I suppose in a way it is that. And then once you've got the big hooks, that means the general.
It's a good market, the hook market.
The general people will like it. The fact you can actually add something that's a bit different around it, I think, really sort of attracts people to it.
It's not something that many bands do, I don't think, like have those big hooks and have the really weird bits.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because we do to an extent pull together a lot of influences that a lot of people in bands have, but not many bands do.
Yeah,
so to speak. A lot of bands are,
Well, it's like it's the same thing with From the Black Helicopters. We were all into really different stuff, but sometimes when you're in a band that sounds a certain way, you don't feel like you can do anything that's a bit different within the confines of that band, and we don't really feel like that, and we feel like we can do what we want.
Yeah, basically.
So are you getting chased much by labels and things at the
moment?
Loads,
fighting them up with sticks. I heard this morning we had offers on the table.
Really?
Yeah, Jimmy Smith of Powerphone said
No.
we had offer. He said, "Who are you signing to?" You've got a few people after you. I went, "If you see him," I said, "If you see him, point him in my direction." No. He asked that question.
Everyone thinks we're A's, but nobody wants to sign us.
It's a mixture of a few people think we're actually signed already, really, which I find absolutely bizarre. And
these are people in the music industry who should know better.
Yeah,
really.
They really do. Few scouts really like us, but aren't established enough in their company to stick their neck out and tell people that we're ace. And there are a few people that don't quite get it as much as they just don't get it as much. And there doesn't really seem to be anyone who really gets it and is brave enough to do anything about it, apart from Mike.
Who signed our publishing deal.
Which is quite interesting because we were the first band he signed, and I think that was quite a big thing in a way. I think he hadn't got, disillusioned with stuff that he couldn't go to people with a band that sounds like us. But it is weird, like when you talk to the industry people, like I had a funny talk with him about 65 Days of Static, and he suggested that they might be a good tour spot for us, like for them to support us, and I went, do you not know how big they are? Because they're not signed to a label, so there's no sales figures really, and there's no comprehension of how big that band is. But that band, is
selling out of 500 capacity venues.
Yeah, they're like
they're really going to want to support us.
They would sell out gigs that we're planning to play in 5 months' time, and but that's the thing, and Mike doesn't get it, and I think a lot of people just get disillusioned with that in the industry. So I don't really know what's going on in that regard for us, but like I say, I got a phone call this morning and apparently there were offers on the table.
Did he actually say that?
Yeah.
Is that Jimmy you signed for?
Yeah, that's Jimmy.
So what do you think you're going to do in the meantime? Are you going to keep on putting stuff out yourselves? Or?
Yeah, well, we're doing the next single on Dance to the Radio, and then...
The plan was always that we thought by the third single, like it was when the third single came out, that people would twig, and it's just really frustrating because it was supposed to be out now pretty much, and due to numerous a few things, it's not coming out obviously till the end of the year, which is a bit, well, it's not concerning, but it's just a bit weird then, because like after it comes out, it's going to be dwarfed a little bit by Christmas, but hopefully we can pick that up in the whole sort of New Year thing.
It's not bad putting out records by yourself, but I don't know how I think we all think that like we don't want to keep putting records out yourself, because then people might assume that we're signed to Dance to the Radio, whatever, and then to do an album or something, you've not got like the backing that you would do from like a longer established kind of.
But it's like I say, it's like I think we always said that it was when the third single out that people would sort of fully realise what sort of thing we were. And it is just weird that it's taken longer between the second and third singles than we'd hoped, and we're now in a position where we have to start planning the fourth single. We're sort of hoping that someone will sort of come on board with our help.
All we have to do is find the table, Whiskers.
Find the table.
There's offers on it.
Yeah,
you can find it.
Let's find the table. Just finding someone to keep the vision going, I guess.
Keep the vision going. We're not reinventing the wheel.
At the end of the day.
It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science what we're trying to achieve.
Just brain surgery.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, what do you think of the way Leeds is at the moment? Because obviously it's been on a bit of a high for quite a while now, perceived that way.
Oh, sorry, I got a really funny conversation I had with Neil last night, which I need to tell you.
Right.
About the play Miss Bowen up now.
Right.
Sorry about that.
We were recording last week, and it was pretty ace because like a week at home, and there was a gig on every night of the week that I wanted to go to, and to be in that kind of situation where you have to like pick between so many gigs.
It's fucking ace in Leeds. It's like I always thought it was good, but I've only realised in the last like month or so how great it is, because there's not many cities where you've got so many bands who can, like local bands who can pull a big crowd, like because people like I Like Trains, this Ala Fracas and stuff they can pull a pretty big crowd like on a local scale to just play a gig in Leeds.
Just do anything and have a big party, isn't it? It's like you can do things like that. Gig on Saturday and it's a real event. You know, that Pat's birthday thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can do this Al who are quite favourable. Then you can stick them on with horse, and shut your eyes and you'll piss your pants.
Did you see any pictures?
But it's like a big,
No.
have you seen the
He was
ones
wearing a
with?
big fucking skull mask.
But it's amazing.
terrifying.
You couldn't tell who
He
it was,
was.
apart from the fact he was wearing
He
fingerless
was wearing a big
gloves.
skull mask.
But have you seen have you seen the pictures of horse?
No.
Do you know who they got dressed up as?
Queen?
As
I
Queen.
know
Jenko as Freddie Mercury is just brilliant. Lonsdale with a massive wig as Brian May. It's fucking the best idea I've ever heard in my life. I nearly totally nicked it for tonight. But no, you can do a gig like that, and that's like quite a happening gig, even though you've got horse who sound like a fucking train wreck. You know, in a good way. Yeah.
Play with I Like Trains.
Yeah, they did.
Oh yeah.
With us.
Yeah.
We facilitated that.
Yeah.
We should have done the flies that way though.
Dope.
And you know, that's great about Leeds, I guess. And it's interesting though. I think there are a few bands that are. There's a bit of a. I don't know, because no one's really signed yet out of the bands at the minute. That's the other interesting thing.
But at the same rate, no one seems to be that bothered about it yet.
Everybody's
no, but
doing
there's
really
gonna,
well.
there's going to come a stage there, and I'll be interested to see. No one's taking it to the next level. You know, we're trying and struggling like fuck.
Well,
basically.
Sunshine Underground, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah,
aren't
but from what they're just, I don't know.
Go on,
Anyway.
say the crap.
No, I really like them, but I've heard loads of people say recently about their gig in the city being this big thing, and I know it wasn't. Well, they told me, and a few other people told me they were fucking awful. Apparently they were ace, they did two, one they were ace and the other they were shit. A lot of people said, oh, they blew everyone away, the two gigs, and I know loads of people that on this one, they were fucking appalling, and I just find it really funny how everyone's gone back and it's now one of those gigs where they made it, and it's just like, they were shit. I mean, I wasn't there, but they said they were shit. It just seems like people are getting carried away, which is the one worry with the whole scene.
Yeah.
That if people really start getting carried away and not realising things that are right in front of your face.
You don't want it to start getting to the point where someone's like, calling someone, yeah, I'm from fucking Leeds, man, like putting on a Manchester accent.
Yeah.
I'm from Leeds, mate. You want to give me a fucking gig? We're fucking great. We're from Leeds.
Stuff like that.
Just like,
And
yeah.
I don't know. I think the Sunshine Underground will be fine because of the race.
I think
just
most of
the
the
way
bands
they.
are good. So
Yeah, no, the thing with them is because they are the band that seems to be closest to a signing up as a big deal at the minute. They seem to have done the sort of La Flamme thing of getting pissed and playing gigs quite a lot. What's even more worrying that no one's really slapped around the face and gone, stop it, behave, and you'll be alright.
Do you think it's going to last the way it is at the moment? I mean, do you think the bubble's going to burst at some point?
Shouldn't do.
Yeah.
There's no.
Pops at some point now.
That-
Well, yeah, but it's not. It people may stop referring to stuff as from Leeds, but
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like as we keep
It's just
saying,
bands.
it's just bands that are helping each other out. If the thing is, it's not like Sheffield where one day people go, actually, hang on, all those four bands sound the same and they all look like and talk like wankers. And that's not necessarily my opinion. But,
The thing is, there isn't necessarily a bubble to burst. I think.
Yeah, well,
it's
that's
just
it.
lots of little bubbles that are
because
bursting all
we're
the
just
time.
so good mates, like with everyone. It's like I don't know if it is like a new thing, but it just seems to be that collectively in our group of mates we're all in ace bands.
Well, I think
it's the same by default, and it's like I've said. I think it's something that's sort of been coming through in Leeds for about 3 or 4 years, going back from Parva and Wrinkle and some USA struggling to what they're doing now. But at the same time, those were quite profile. But La Flamme, Black Helicopters, and Catalyst, and whoever else has been in bands were also struggling, and now everyone's sort of grown up and helps each other out.
It's like there's a lot of scenes where
Jelly.
it is like one big massive bubble, but Leeds is a bubble bath.
Oh, beautiful.
It's like jelly as well.
It's like jelly,
Yeah.
just like jelly by the Flaming Lips.
Do you think it is still sort of? I mean, presumably, like the media spotlight's going to move on at some point, and the sort of label interest is going to move on.
But the thing is, I mean, the bands who are good are still going to be good. So
I think the thing is, like what you're saying is I think Leeds may move from the first place that A&R people ring to try and find about hot new bands, but there'll still be hot new bands coming from Leeds. I think it's a door that's open that'll be hard to close now. Like the cinema thing from 10 years ago, it's been really hard to get noticed if you're from Leeds, and I think that's partly because there's been no sort of what's the word, infrastructure of like labels and people doing press from around here and management and things like that. And I think all that sort of stuff is sort of falling in place. People know what they're doing now, a lot more than they ever have.
If it carries on for a while, it'll just become like Manchester. Well,
exactly.
but not in a bad way, because
Manchester
can be a bit shit.
Manchester's got your press firms.
Yeah,
and companies
Manchester
like that.
is
There's
sort of
based
like
in Leeds,
got the sort of things that you need, and people will go to Manchester and watch bands. Whereas, and I think that's happening with Leeds now. And if it goes on for long enough, I think it'll stay that way. Maybe not quite the same scale, but
well, like I say, it might not be the first place that
first port
of call, but I'm sure there won't stop being good bands, because there are still loads of there's a few great bands around now that
just starting out,
that have got a lot more potential than most new bands I've done for the last sort of as long as I can remember.
Yeah. Anything that needs to change in Leeds? Anywhere where you think there's room for improvement?
Yeah, there's too many bands think that they've made it when they don't know what making it is. Basically, there's too many bands that sort of think that just rest on the laurels and sort of think they can wait to, I don't know, get signed or whatever.
It's like when you're in your first band or whatever, and some A&R man rings up and says that they're coming to see you or whatever, and then you run around telling all your mates, oh yeah, we got a deal, whatever. It's just like, nah.
Which, you can't blame people for doing some stuff like that, but, there's a few people. I can't actually really can't think of any specific examples. I mean, it's sort of what I got from when I was doing stuff, and I know you do talk to a few people and you just go, no, just keep on having fun and enjoying it and don't get carried away, and it's a lot better than you going, fucking yeah, I've been getting like 20 emails a day off there now, man. You haven't really, have you? And to be honest, that doesn't really mean anything, because they're just doing their job because someone mentioned you.
Could do with a couple of slightly bigger venues as well, like 3,000 capacity type thing.
Not the blank canvas.
Yeah, not the blank canvas, not Leeds the refectory.
I think Leeds in general, the venues need to settle down a little bit as well.
Yeah, there's
too many like venues trying to do different things and not quite getting it right.
I think that's it. I think there's too many venues trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
As each other on the same night, and I don't think it necessarily works. But after a while, all the best ones will rise to the top.
Yeah. I think that it's a sort of especially the venue situation is in a bit of a conflux at the minute, and like Royal Park, be interesting how that goes back into the mix. See what people make of the mixing tune in like 6 months, a year's time. What happens with the Well in terms of they've sort of they ebb and flow between having a lot of touring bands and a lot of local bands.
I think there was a time where it was getting a bit silly with like every bar owner in Leeds was saying, oh yeah, bands are cool now, let's put on some gigs. They're hiring a fucking £2 pier that's like that big and get some bands to play.
That's more or less what happened with the Vine, wasn't it? Like they put an advert in saying.
Not really, because I took it over and made it proper.
Yeah, but in the first place they were just looking for bands to play and stuff, weren't they?
Yeah, but the difference is that John had a background in putting bands on.
Alright.
So it kind of is the same, but it's a bit more thought out than your Doctor Who's or your Reporter. Mind you, Doctor Who's is obviously there's something there, but your Reporters for definitely. Who else has done it? It was terrible.
Life Cafe did it for a bit.
Yeah, that was fucking. I went down there with Colin. It was appalling.
Was that to see Little Japanese Toy? 'Cause that's the only band I ever remember playing there.
Yeah, we were wankered though.
What's your opinion of the way the Vine's gone in the past 6 months?
So we're going back to the other thing. It seems like the obvious continuation of where I left it from.
Do you actually know?
I don't really. Well, that's the thing. I don't really know, but from the outside, it doesn't seem. There doesn't seem to be any sort of thing holding it together. Sort of general. Sort of organisation behind it. Well, I think the individual nights that they're all putting on seem very good, but I think people are confused because they don't know what's going on there, for example. And I believe there are still a few problems with the management.
And it's still next to Three Legs.
But I believe the problems, which is why we left it with the management that frustrated us so much, are still happening. I believe did come in. Heard of one incident where he actually it was only about a month ago, 2 wives on it, where he came in and
But
Yeah,
Didn't
Paul
like the
didn't
music.
like the music, so try to close the gig down.